The night he brought her home smelled like lemon polish and rain. The building's lobby lights hummed softly, too bright, making everything feel exposed. He had rehearsed this moment in fragments, never whole. Just flashes. The elevator doors opening. A hand on his arm that wasn't his wife's. A laugh that sounded younger than it should have. Celebration, he'd called it. A word he'd rolled around in his mouth until it stopped tasting like guilt and started tasting like relief. Tonight, he told himself, he deserved something clean. He walked in first, shoulders squared, keys already back in his pocket. The woman followed, heels clicking with a careful confidence, eyes lifting to the ceiling, then the walls, then his face. She smiled as if the place were a prize. He felt taller beside her. Lighter. Like someone who had survived something hard and earned a softer ending. He did not look at the framed wedding photo near the concierge desk. He had learned how not to look. Security stood near the desk, older men with quiet eyes. They knew him by name. He liked that. It made him feel permanent. As he crossed the lobby, one of them stepped forward, holding a small paper bag. Plain. Folded tight at the top. No logo. Just his name written in careful block letters, the ink slightly smudged. "Sir," the guard said gently, as if speaking to someone already unsteady. "This was left for you." He frowned, irritation flaring. "What is this?" The guard didn't answer. He didn't need to. He simply extended the bag. The woman beside him leaned closer, curious, smiling. "Probably a surprise," she said, light and teasing. "Open it." The bag felt heavier than it looked. The paper was cool, faintly damp. He peeled it open with his thumb, expecting anything except what waited inside. His breath stopped. Just stopped. Time did that thing it sometimes does when it wants to punish you. Slowed until every sound had edges. Inside lay his wedding ring. Gold. Simple. The inside engraved with a date he had once memorized like a prayer. It sat there without shine, as if it had been handled, warmed, then carefully placed. Beneath it, folded once, a small white card. No handwriting. Just 3 words, printed cleanly. "I know now." His chest tightened in a way that felt physical, like hands pressing inward. He became aware of his pulse, loud in his ears. The woman's smile faltered. "What is it?" she asked, her voice thinning. He closed the bag. Too fast. As if speed could undo meaning. "Nothing," he said, but the word cracked. He cleared his throat. "Just something old." Security watched him with something like sorrow. Not judgment. That hurt more. The elevator arrived with a soft chime. He stepped inside without waiting for her, then held the door when she hesitated. The ride up felt endless. The numbers glowed red, climbing. His reflection in the mirrored wall looked unfamiliar. Pale. Older. The man in the mirror had always believed he could manage pain by dividing it. Work here. Marriage there. Desire somewhere else. He had believed he was careful. Kind, even. He had never imagined his wife's knowing would be so quiet. The doors opened on his floor. The hallway smelled like carpet cleaner and something floral. Home. The word felt wrong. He unlocked the door, expecting resistance. Expecting to feel her presence, maybe standing in the dark. Instead, the apartment was empty. Lights off. Curtains drawn. Too neat. The woman wandered in, setting her purse down. "Is she here?" she asked, trying for calm. "No," he said. The answer felt like a lie, even though it wasn't. His wife was everywhere. In the way the couch pillows were arranged. In the faint indentation on her side of the bed, untouched tonight. In the absence of her shoes by the door. He went to the kitchen. The counter was bare except for a single glass, washed and upside down. He turned it over and filled it with water. His hands shook. He drank too fast, water spilling down his chin. The woman stood in the doorway, arms crossed now. Defensive. "You said tonight was about us," she said. "You said you were ready." He thought of the ring again. How it must have felt sliding off her finger. The pause she might have taken. The decision to leave it behind like evidence, not a weapon. He imagined her hands, steady. Her breathing. He imagined her packing slowly, choosing only what mattered. He realized he had never once considered what she would feel when she found out. He had only imagined her not finding out. "I was ready," he said quietly. "I think." She studied him. Then she nodded, once, as if confirming something she'd suspected. "I don't think I should stay," she said. He didn't stop her. He watched as she gathered her things, her movements sharp, wounded. The door closed behind her with a soft click. The apartment breathed out. He sat on the edge of the bed and opened the bag again. The ring caught the light from the street lamp outside. He slipped it onto his finger out of habit, then froze. It fit. Of course it did. He pulled it off and held it in his palm until the warmth faded. Somewhere, his wife was awake. Or asleep. Or walking. Or crying in a way that didn't make noise. He would never know exactly which. The not knowing settled around him, heavy and deserved. He turned off the lamp and sat in the dark, the ring resting on the nightstand, waiting for a hand that would never reach for it again. She left before dawn, when the city was still unsure of itself. The streetlights flickered like tired eyes, and the air smelled of wet concrete and old leaves. She carried only one suitcase, the small one, the one she used for conferences and short visits to her sister. It rolled unevenly over the sidewalk, catching on cracks, forcing her to slow down. She did not mind the slowing. She needed it. Her body had not yet learned how to move in a world where he knew. Inside her coat pocket, her hand kept closing around nothing. Muscle memory. The ring had lived there for years, a weight she stopped noticing until it was gone. When she slid it off, hours earlier, her finger had looked thinner. Vulnerable. She had stared at the pale band of skin, the indentation like a quiet accusation. Marriage leaves marks even when it ends politely. She had not cried when she found out. That surprised her. The message came as an email, anonymous, brief, mercilessly factual. Dates. A name she did not recognize. A photo she wished she could unsee, not because it was graphic, but because it was ordinary. Two people laughing in a way she recognized. His way. The way he laughed when he felt admired. She sat at the kitchen table for a long time after that, hands folded, breathing slow, as if waiting for someone to interrupt her with better news. The apartment hummed. The refrigerator clicked on and off. A neighbor's television murmured through the wall. Life continued with offensive normalcy. What hurt most was not the affair itself. It was the neatness of it. The efficiency. He had found time. He had found energy. He had found a version of himself that still reached. She had not known he was still reaching. She packed carefully. Not angrily. She left things that belonged to her because they also belonged to the life they had made, and she could not yet separate the two. The mug with the chipped rim. The sweater she wore when she was sick. She folded his shirts once, out of habit, then stopped and laughed softly at herself. The sound startled her. It sounded too normal. The ring was the last thing. She turned it slowly between her fingers, remembering the day it slid on, the way his hands shook then. They had been so young. Or maybe they had just been hopeful. Hope can look like youth if you don't know better yet. She could have taken it with her. Sold it. Thrown it into a river. Instead, she placed it in the small paper bag she found under the sink, the one they used for recycling batteries. She wrote his name carefully. She did not write hers. She added the card because silence felt incomplete. 3 words were enough. Anything more would have been an attempt to be understood. She did not need that from him anymore. The security guard had recognized her immediately. Everyone did. She was the woman who brought cookies during holidays. The woman who remembered names. He hesitated when she handed him the bag, eyes softening. She almost told him not to be sorry. Almost asked him how his daughter was doing at college. Instead, she smiled, small and tired, and left. Now, on the street, she paused to look back at the building. Windows dark, stacked neatly, each one holding a life she would never fully imagine. Somewhere up there, he was opening the bag. Or not yet. The timing no longer belonged to her. She walked to the bus stop rather than calling a car. The bench was cold. She sat and crossed her ankles, posture still careful, still married in its discipline. A bus roared past without stopping. She watched it go, the red lights shrinking, and felt a sudden, sharp loneliness. Not for him. For herself. For the woman she had been yesterday morning, making coffee, planning dinner, unaware that her life was about to tilt. Her phone buzzed once. A message from her sister. A simple question. Are you okay? She stared at it, then typed back. I will be. Not yet, but eventually. She deleted the second sentence and sent only the first. As the sky lightened, details emerged. A discarded glove near the curb. A pigeon hopping with wounded dignity. The city waking up, indifferent to private catastrophes. She stood when the next bus came and climbed aboard, choosing a seat by the window. As it pulled away, she rested her forehead against the glass. It was cool, grounding. She wondered if he would call. Not to explain. To apologize. The thought made her chest tighten. An apology would ask her to respond. She was too empty for that. She needed days without his voice. Weeks, maybe. A lifetime in which his knowing no longer mattered. The bus turned a corner, and the building disappeared from view. She exhaled slowly, a breath she felt she had been holding for years. In the quiet of that release, something else surfaced. A small, almost imperceptible relief. The truth was out now. No more guessing. No more shaping herself around absences she could not name. She closed her eyes as the bus carried her forward, into a morning that did not belong to him at all. Days passed the way they do after something irreversible. Not dramatically. Not even memorably. They passed like water through a cracked cup, leaving dampness behind but no clear measure of how much had been lost. He went to work. He answered emails with the same punctuation. He nodded at people in hallways. No one said anything. No one ever did when a man's life collapsed politely. The ring stayed on the nightstand. He did not move it. Each morning, his hand reached for it without intention, then stopped mid-air, hovering, as if waiting for permission. He told himself he would put it away when he was ready. Readiness became a word with no meaning. On the third day, he noticed the indentation on his finger had not faded. The skin still remembered. That unsettled him more than he expected. He stood in the bathroom, running water, staring at his own hand like it belonged to someone else. He pressed his thumb into the pale band until it hurt, as if pain could speed forgetting. At night, the apartment was loud. Pipes clicking. Distant sirens. The hum of the refrigerator. Sounds he had never noticed because her breathing had always been there, soft and irregular, anchoring everything. Now silence came in layers. First the absence of her voice. Then the absence of expectation. Then the deeper absence, the one that had no shape yet. He did not call the other woman. He did not delete her number either. That limbo felt appropriate. A place where things went to wait until they decided what they were. He replayed the moment in the lobby more than anything else. The guard's eyes. Not accusing. Just knowing. He wondered how long everyone else had known. Or suspected. Or simply seen the man he was becoming before he had. He wondered if his wife had watched that change quietly, collecting evidence not of infidelity, but of distance. The way he no longer asked follow-up questions. The way he listened with half his attention angled elsewhere. Absence leaves traces long before it announces itself. On the fifth day, he came home to find the mail piled at the door. He sorted through it mechanically. Bills. Advertisements. A postcard from a place they had once talked about visiting. He turned it over and over, then slipped it back into the pile, unopened. He could not bear new information about old dreams. He cooked for the first time since she left. Something simple. Pasta. He used too much salt. He ate standing up, leaning against the counter, chewing without hunger. When he was done, he rinsed the plate and set it carefully in the drying rack, as if she might return and notice disorder. As if neatness could be a signal. He caught himself mid-motion and laughed, the sound brittle. The apartment did not respond. That night, he dreamed of the ring. Not the wedding day. Not her face. Just the ring rolling across a floor he could not see, always just out of reach. He woke with his heart racing, fingers clenched. On the seventh day, he finally touched it. He picked it up between thumb and forefinger, surprised again by its weight. He expected it to feel foreign. Instead, it felt familiar in a way that made his throat tighten. He slipped it on, just to see. The skin protested slightly. He flexed his hand. For a moment, everything aligned. Habit is powerful. It can masquerade as comfort. He took it off again almost immediately. The relief was sharp and short-lived. He placed it back down, farther from the edge this time, as if distance mattered. He thought about calling her sister. Not to ask where she was. Just to say he was sorry. He imagined the conversation and stopped. An apology without repair is a performance. He was tired of performing. He did not know what he wanted from her now. Forgiveness felt too generous. Understanding felt impossible. What he wanted, if he was honest, was for her to see him clearly and still choose to stay. He recognized the selfishness of that desire and let it sit anyway. Wanting does not obey morality. On the 9th day, he ran into the security guard again. The man nodded, professional. Said nothing. He said nothing too. The exchange lasted seconds but lingered. He realized then that the bag had not been the punishment. It had been the message. The punishment was the quiet that followed, the way consequences stretched forward instead of exploding all at once. That evening, he opened the closet and took down the coat she used to wear in early winter. He pressed his face into the fabric before he could stop himself. It smelled faintly of her soap. Something floral and clean. His chest tightened. He did not cry. Tears felt like they would be too much, too obvious, like trying to mark pain with something visible. This pain wanted privacy. He hung the coat back up, smoothing the sleeve. He stood there longer than necessary, then turned off the light. Later, lying in bed, he stared at the ceiling. The ring waited on the nightstand, catching a sliver of streetlight. He thought of her on a bus, on a sidewalk, in some other room where his absence was still sharp but no longer defining. The thought hurt. It also steadied him. She was moving. He was still. Eventually, the light shifted, and the ring fell into shadow. He did not reach for it. He let the darkness take it, and with it, the version of himself that had believed knowing was optional. She settled into the borrowed room slowly, as if sudden movements might alert the grief and make it louder. Her sister's apartment smelled like laundry detergent and burnt toast. There were plants on the windowsill that leaned toward the light with uncomplicated faith. She slept on a narrow bed with a quilt that did not belong to her body yet. The first night, she lay awake listening to pipes and footsteps that were not his, learning a new map of sound. The mornings were the hardest. Habit woke her before intention. She would sit up, reaching instinctively for the other side of the bed, then stop. Her hand hovered in air that held nothing. She learned to place it back on her own chest, feeling the steady thud there, reminding herself she was still contained. Still here. She did not tell her sister everything. She told her enough. Enough to explain the suitcase. Enough to explain the silence. The rest lived inside her, heavy but private. Some pains need witnesses. Others need space. On the 10th day, she went for a walk alone. The neighborhood was unfamiliar, all narrow streets and small cafes with handwritten menus. She passed a bakery and stood outside for a moment, watching people choose pastries with casual joy. She felt like a ghost observing a world she had not yet rejoined. Still, she went in. She ordered something she had never had before. It tasted sweeter than expected. That surprised her. She ate it slowly, crumbs falling onto a napkin, proof that her body still wanted things. She thought of him less often than she expected. When she did, it was not the sharp image of betrayal that came first. It was smaller moments. The way he used to line up his shoes. The way he always forgot where he put his keys. Memory, it turned out, was not loyal to pain. It drifted toward tenderness without asking permission. She wrote him a letter and did not send it. She wrote another and tore it up. Words failed her in different ways each time. Too angry. Too kind. Too final. She realized she did not owe him a perfectly shaped ending. Endings could be uneven. Frayed. Honest. One afternoon, she went to a hardware store and bought a cheap mirror. She hung it on the wall opposite the bed. That night, She stood in front of it for a long time, studying her own face. The lines near her eyes. The set of her mouth. She looked older than she remembered. She also looked clearer. As if something had been wiped away, leaving her unsoftened but true. Across the city, he packed the apartment into boxes he labeled carefully. Kitchen. Books. Winter. He did not label the box that held her things. He taped it shut anyway. He did not know where to send it yet. He did not know if she would want it. He left the ring behind, on the nightstand, where it had been since the lobby. He had learned not to touch it. On the 14th day, she finally called him. The decision arrived quietly, without ceremony. She dialed and waited, heart steady. He answered on the second ring. Neither of them spoke at first. The silence was not hostile. It was dense. Earned. "I know," he said finally. Not as defense. As acknowledgement. "I didn't call to talk about that," she replied. Her voice surprised her with its calm. "I just needed to hear you once. So it can stop echoing." "I understand," he said. And for once, he did. They did not apologize. They did not explain. They did not promise anything. When they hung up, she felt lighter, not because something had been fixed, but because something had been released. He sat with the phone in his hand long after the call ended, feeling the absence settle into its final shape. That evening, she opened the window in the borrowed room. Cool air rushed in, lifting the edge of the quilt. She breathed deeply, filling her lungs until it almost hurt. She thought of the ring, no longer on her finger, no longer defining the space around her hand. She flexed her fingers, feeling their freedom. He watched the city from his own window, the ring still where she had left it behind in its quiet accusation. He did not put it on. He did not throw it away. He accepted that some objects become markers rather than tools. Later, she lay down and turned off the light. In the dark, she imagined a future without clear outlines. That frightened her. It also felt honest. She let the fear sit beside her, not fighting it, not naming it. Just breathing. In another room, another darkness, he did the same. The city moved on around them, unremarkable and relentless. Somewhere between loss and becoming, something held. Not hope. Not despair. Just the steady knowledge that life, once broken open, does not close the same way again.